The man had learned to live with silence. Days passed without conversation, nights settled heavily around him, and the world seemed to move on without noticing he was there. That morning felt no different as he walked the familiar path, carrying the quiet weight of another ordinary day. Then, from the corner of his eye, something shifted in the stillness, a shape tucked away where no one bothered to look. At first, he thought it was just another shadow, another reminder of how easily things could be overlooked. But when he slowed down, he saw her. Thin, exhausted, her body curved protectively around a small cluster of puppies pressed close for warmth. She did not bark. She did not run. She simply watched him, eyes filled with fear and determination, as if daring the world to take from her the last thing she had left. The man stopped breathing for a moment. In that single glance, he recognized something painfully familiar. The dog's posture, the way she guarded her puppies, mirrored his own quiet struggle to protect what little meaning remained in his life. She had been abandoned, left to survive on instinct alone, yet she was still fighting, still holding on for them. As he knelt down, the puppies shifted, tiny movements against their mother's trembling body. Their lives had begun in uncertainty, surrounded by cold ground and unanswered nights. The mother's eyes never left his face, not out of aggression, but out of desperation. She was measuring him, deciding whether this human would be another threat or the first sign of mercy. In that fragile moment, something invisible cracked open inside the man. He had gone out expecting nothing, prepared to return to his loneliness unchanged. Instead, fate placed a broken family in his path, and with it, a choice that would alter every quiet day that came after. What began as a chance encounter was about to become a turning point neither of them could have imagined. The man remained there longer than he intended, crouched in the dirt as the wind brushed past them. The mother dog did not move, but her body stayed tense, every muscle ready to shield her puppies if needed. He noticed how thin she was, how her ribs rose and fell with each breath, yet her posture never softened. Hunger had taken its toll, but instinct kept her standing guard. He spoke quietly, not because he expected her to understand the words, but because silence felt too heavy. Dogs listened beyond language, and the tone of his voice carried something she hadn't sensed in a long time. It wasn't urgency. It wasn't command. It was calm, and calm, to a dog who had been abandoned, felt unfamiliar but not threatening. One of the puppies stirred, letting out a faint sound before nestling closer to its mother. The man's chest tightened. These tiny lives had known nothing but uncertainty, born into a world that had already failed them. Yet they pressed forward anyway, breathing, moving, existing, unaware of how fragile their beginning truly was. The mother dog lowered her head slightly, eyes never leaving him. This was not trust, but it was no longer pure fear. Dogs do not give themselves easily after being left behind. They test the world slowly, moment by moment, watching for consistency rather than promises. The man realized then that walking away would be easy. Staying would not. And in that realization, he felt something shift inside him. For the first time in a long while, his loneliness was no longer the heaviest thing in the space between breaths. He returned with food, careful not to approach too quickly. The smell reached them before he did, and the mother dog's ears twitched. Hunger battled instinct inside her, a familiar war she had fought many times. She wanted to protect her puppies, yet her body ached for nourishment she could no longer ignore. The man placed the food on the ground and stepped back. He waited. Dogs understand patience as a form of respect, and this mattered more than anything he could offer. Slowly, cautiously, the mother dog stretched her neck forward, never turning her back on him as she began to eat. As she did, something softened in her stance. Not fully, but enough for the puppies to shift more freely, their small bodies no longer pressed as tightly together. The man watched in silence, aware that this simple act was not a rescue yet, but the beginning of survival. While she ate, he noticed the marks on her paws, worn and cracked from walking too far with nowhere to go. Her fur carried the dust of nights spent awake, listening for danger. These details told a story no one had bothered to hear, a story written in endurance rather than noise. When she finally lifted her head, her eyes met his again. This time, they held something new. Not trust, not relief, but recognition. As if she understood that this human had not come to take from her, but to give her time. And sometimes, time is the first gift that changes everything. The man came back again the next day, and the day after that. He did not arrive with urgency or expectation, only with the quiet consistency the mother dog had learned to look for in the world. Each time, she watched him approach, measuring his movements, reading his energy. Dogs remember who returns. In their world, presence repeated is what slowly replaces fear. The puppies grew bolder in his presence. Small paws wobbled across the ground, curious noses lifting toward unfamiliar scents. Their mother remained close, always positioning herself between them and the man, yet her body no longer trembled the way it had before. She was still guarding, but no longer bracing for the worst. The man noticed how the puppies reacted to sound, how one startled easily, while another leaned forward instead of back. Even in their earliest days, personality was already taking shape. He found himself smiling at their clumsy movements, a reaction that surprised him. It had been a long time since anything had pulled that response from him. As the hours passed, the man sat nearby, saying nothing, doing nothing, simply sharing the space. To an outsider, it might have looked like nothing was happening. But to the mother dog, this stillness mattered. He was not trying to rush her trust or force change. He was allowing it to grow at its own pace. In those quiet moments, something began to heal on both sides. The dog learned that not all humans disappeared. The man learned that he was still capable of caring, of waiting, of being needed. Neither of them spoke of it, but both felt the shift. The weather changed suddenly, bringing cold rain that soaked the ground and turned the air sharp. The mother dog huddled closer to her puppies, her body forming a fragile barrier against the chill. The man arrived and immediately understood that this place could no longer protect them. He hesitated, aware that one wrong move could undo everything they had built. Slowly, he placed a blanket nearby, careful not to cross the invisible line she still guarded. The fabric carried warmth and the faint scent of his home, unfamiliar but gentle. The mother dog watched him closely as the rain fell harder. The puppies whimpered softly, their tiny bodies shivering despite her efforts. Instinct pulled her in two directions, between fear of the human and fear for her young. This was the moment trust either deepened or disappeared. After a long pause, she nudged the blanket with her nose, then guided the puppies onto it. The man did not move. He simply waited, heart pounding, understanding that she was making the hardest decision of her life. As the rain blurred the world around them, the space between human and dog quietly dissolved. She had chosen warmth over fear, hope over isolation. And in doing so, she took the first step toward a future none of them could yet see. The man carried a small crate the next time he arrived, placing it gently on the ground before sitting a few steps away. He did not point to it or try to guide her. He understood now that every choice had to feel like hers. The mother dog studied the crate, then looked at him, her eyes searching for signs of danger that never came. The puppies, unaware of fear, crawled toward the crate on unsteady legs, drawn by curiosity and warmth. Their mother followed slowly, every movement deliberate. She sniffed the edges, circled once, then twice, testing the space. It smelled safe. It felt contained. Most importantly, it felt quiet. When she finally stepped inside, something deep inside her relaxed. The puppies pressed against her, their small bodies rising and falling together. For the first time since they had been born, she was not exposed to the open world. The man noticed how her breathing changed, how her muscles slowly released the tension she had carried for so long. He stayed there with them, not reaching in, not interrupting the moment. Dogs recognize when a human understands boundaries, and this strengthened what little trust had formed. In that stillness, the mother dog was no longer just surviving. She was resting. As the light faded, the man felt the weight of responsibility settle on him, heavy but grounding. He realized that he was no longer just visiting. He was becoming part of their story, whether he felt ready or not. Moving them was the hardest step. The mother dog hesitated when the crate was lifted, her body tensing as memories of loss surfaced. The man moved slowly, speaking softly, ensuring every motion felt predictable. Trust, once earned, must be protected carefully. The journey was quiet. The puppies slept, unaware of the significance of the moment. Their mother stayed alert, eyes open, watching every turn, every pause. Yet she did not fight. She stayed. That alone spoke louder than fear ever could. When they arrived, the space was small but warm. The floor was clean. The air was calm. The man set the crate down and stepped back, giving her room to decide again. After a moment, she stepped out, then turned back to check on her puppies, confirming they were still there. Inside, the world felt different. Sounds were softer, movement slower. The mother dog walked carefully, as if unsure whether this peace was temporary. The man watched, understanding that healing does not arrive all at once. It unfolds in layers, with patience. That night, as the puppies slept and their mother finally closed her eyes, the man sat nearby, awake but at ease. Two broken lives had found each other not through force, but through quiet persistence. And in that shared silence, something new had begun to take shape. In the days that followed, the man realized that he was no longer waking up to silence alone. The quiet had changed its meaning. It was no longer empty, but shared. The mother dog and her puppies did not erase his loneliness in an instant. Yet they reshaped it into something warmer, something purposeful. What began as an accidental meeting had grown into a bond formed through patience, respect, and the courage to stay. This story reminds us that rescue is rarely dramatic. It does not always arrive with urgency or applause. More often, it appears as consistency, as returning when it would be easier not to, as choosing compassion without knowing the outcome. The dog did not need to be saved from the world as much as she needed someone willing to face it alongside her. The man and the dog mirrored each other in ways neither could have expected. Both had been abandoned by different versions of life. Both had learned to survive in isolation, and both discovered healing not through force, but through connection. Their transformation happened quietly, in shared space and shared silence, proving that trust grows when it is never rushed. There are countless stories like this unfolding every day, unseen and unheard. A pause in a routine, a decision to notice what others overlook, can alter more than one life at a time. This is the power of compassion when it is practiced gently and without expectation. It asks nothing in return, yet it gives everything. If this story resonated with you, it's because it speaks to something deeply human. Stay connected to stories that remind us how small acts can create lasting change. Subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and share your thoughts in the comments. Your support helps these stories reach others who may be waiting for the same reminder.